Assalamu alaikum students. Today we'll be starting with coordination and control, this second session. See here we will be talking about what are the organelles that are involved with respect to this coordination. Okay, now I will ask you to do certain things, like if I ask you to eat the sugar, how it tastes? It will taste sweet, right? Now next thing what I want you to do is you can hold your nose by using your thumb and index finger and then taste the sugar. How do you feel? You don't feel the taste. So why is this happening? Is there any other situation where you feel the same way? Yes, it is. So whenever you have cold, your nose is blocked. In that case, any food that is being given to you, no doubt if it is your one of the favorite dish also, you don't feel the taste. All this is happening because there is some sort of sensation that your brain is going to interpret and in turn will tell you that this food is tasty. Yes, you're going to have it. So where are these sensory things situated? So each and every organism has to know what is going on in the environment. Why? In order to protect itself. So now what is coordination? See, there are various organs, as we know, multicellular organism, they have organ system and they have different organs that work together in a team. Now all those coordination has to be done perfectly in a timely way. Then only an organism can respond and it will work accordingly. Okay. Now this sort of coordination is required to act to the stimuli. Okay. Any organism, if it is interacting with the environment, there is some sort of stimuli which will help them either to change its behavior or it can react in a different way, and this reaction depends upon the type of stimulus. Where exactly these sensory things are located? So it is located in your sense organs. You have various sense organs, basically the 5 sense organs, the eyes, nose, ear, and all the sense organs will have certain sensory nerves. They are going to detect any change that is present. Now, once they detect, they are going to convey the information to the brain and other associated things decide. Then it's going to order to respond. And first of all, let us know what sensory nerves that are present in the different receptors. So you have seen this eyes. It is sensitive to what type of stimuli? Light. Then you have ears. It is sensitive for sound. Olfactory, that is nose, it is sensitive for the smell. And gustatory, the taste buds are sensitive for the taste. Now let us now differentiate between stimulus and response. What do you mean by external stimuli? External stimuli in the sense with respect to the environment, anything outside the body, if it's going to affect the organism, then there is some sort of sense that is going to be detected by the receptors. The message is being conveyed in the form of electrical signals to the brain, and then the brain decides what to do. That in turn has to be conveyed back. So now here there are two examples that's been given here. So this is Nere's. Now, the external stimuli in this case is the finger which is going to touch this organism, the receptors that are present in here. And then what is the response? Going to roll down. Now, what we understand by internal stimuli, for example, if you are hungry, now you feel the hunger. So that message is being conveyed to the brain. Now the brain decides what has to be done. It passes the message to the motor neuron, and this the internal stimuli. Because the stimuli is hunger, the response is eating. Now let us know in detail what is the different part of these neuron. So this neuron is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Okay, now what it has, you can see this is the most complex cell that is present in the body. Just like a tree, it has branches, it has stem and the roots. The head part, which we call as the cell body, it has the nucleus with the cytoplasm and cell membrane. Just like any cell, these it will also have the components. The one of the most important part of this is the long axon, which is having this Schwann cells with this myelin sheath, the protective cover that's going to cover this. Then at the end they have terminals which we call as axon terminals with the nerve which we call as nerve endings. This branch structure we call them as dendrites. This is the most important part. It is the receiving or the receptor point where the signal is sensed. Then it is passed on to the cell body. From cell body it moves to the axon and finally to this nerve ending. Now next is synapse. Synapse is nothing but the meeting of nerve cells to convey the message. Now this functional unit, what it does is, once the cell is going to receive the signal of external stimuli or internal stimuli, that message gets conveyed. First it will be of chemical, then it gets converted in the form of electrical signal. That signal is being carried from the dendrites to cell body and from there to axons, axons to the nerve endings. This nerve ending, once the signal reaches the nerve ending, there is one more neuron cell with the axon. So what it does is it receives the signal from where? The nerve ending. So this meeting of two neurons at a point where the nerve endings is going to meet with the dendroids is called as synapse. And there is a space in between these two. Once the signal is reaching the nerve ending, the electrical signal again gets converted back to chemical signal, and these chemicals are released into the space. This space is synaptic space. These chemicals are being released in this space. Once it is released, again they are taken back by dendrites. So this is how the signal is being transmitted from one end to other end until it reaches the effector part. It could be the muscles or it could be the glands. This process continues till it reaches the effector part. In this case it is the muscle cells. That's why we call as neuromuscular junction. Finally, when it reaches the muscle, then the brain signals that the muscles either can contract or relax depending upon what signal they receive. There are nearly 3 types of neurons. One that is going to sense the signal, second that is going to help in movement, and in the center there is relay neuron. From one neuron to another neuron, how the signal is being transmitted. Let's know what is the reflex arc and action. It is your brain which takes the command of all the process that is being happening. So every time it is not possible for the body to respond to the brain. Most of the thinking process involves lot of complicated signaling. So this is just a protective way of reacting in case of emergency, rather than always waiting for the brain to give the command and signal, and it has to all the way pass back to the effector neuron. Till the signal reaches back to the effector neuron, most of the damage would have been occurred. Therefore, there is a short wave which bypasses the brain to take immediate response. This sort of action which is done by the body with respond to stimulus in a short span of time, we call them as reflex actions. The pathway which it takes to take the decision, it is called as reflex arc. So these are the steps. See, now whenever you see something hot, you know it is hot, but unknowingly if you touch anything which is hot, you try to withdraw immediately, right? You try to withdraw your hand before it is burnt too much. And this process happens without you thinking what's going to happen. Immediately there is a action. So the sensory receptor which are present in the skin, they are going to sense it. And this is being passed to an effector pathway, which in turn leads to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, the signal are then transferred to a effector muscles, and this pathway we call as efferent pathway. Now, what is the response? Immediately when you touch, you're going to release your hand. Immediately the spinal cord is going to take the action and send the signal to just remove your hand, right? So you're going to contract. So these are the involuntary actions. They don't need any thought process. Why this is required? It is required for immediate responses or emergency responses. By this entire thinking process, you must have burnt your hand too much. So that takes time. So this is the shortcut. Let us know the steps. You receive the external stimuli, then that external stimuli is heat, is being sensed by your skin receptors. That in turn gets carried by a sensory nerve which is being present in the skin. Then it will take that message in the form of electrical signals to the next neuron, which we call as relay neuron. This is the place where synapse will take place. Then immediately this spinal cord will take a decision and send the signal to the muscles to withdraw your hand. So that is the effector organ which is present. What is the response? Taking away the hand. So hope you have understood. Now this is the assignment. What you have to do is just label the parts of a neuron based on this information and try to answer these questions. Now what is synapse? How it happens? What are the steps? You just can note here by going through this information. Now let us summarize what we have done for today is we have talked about why nervous system is required and how things are controlled with respect to response from environment. This response are in the form of stimuli which can be external or internal, and what is the basic unit of the nervous system, what are the components that make this neuron, and how these neurons transmit information from one place where it receives to the place where it's going to respond. So thank you very much. Hope you have understood.